Happy Wednesday. I hope that you are well. So today I wanted to talk about an exercise that I did with a bunch of my friends a while back. So there's a book that I might have talked about before that I really quite enjoy. It's called Refuse to Choose. It's an old book. It's not like a super popular book or anything like that, but it's basically about people who are scanners as opposed to specializers. So it's basically for people who find that they have a broad plethora of interests and don't have any attraction towards like the one job or like the one area of focus. So for example, like a microbiologist might be a specialist. They're highly focused on one thing and that's what lights them up and what they feel passionate about. Whereas someone like me, I have a huge amount of interests and I don't think that I could ever actually be satisfied doing any one particular thing. This is another concept, like this is a concept that's been around for a while. There's a book that I've read recently also called Range, Why Generalists Something Rule the World. I don't remember if that's actually the title, but that's another good book as well for like pretty much the same concept, the idea of having breadth as opposed to depth. So why I wanted to bring this up today, because this is in the 2 days ago's video, there's probably a better way to say that, in Monday's video, we talked about the idea that there's not enough time to do all the things that I want to do in life, and sort of like a mental antidote to that, kind of reframing time scarcity to become time abundance. I wanted to talk about a different side of that conversation, which is the idea that, okay, I have too many things that I'm interested in, and there's no way that I possibly could have enough time to do all of the things that I'm interested in. So this is a point that the book brought up that I thought was really astute. So anytime someone says, oh, I have too many interests, it's like, okay, well, what are your interests? What are they? Before ever trying to answer that question or making such a list myself, my assumption would be that I could easily come up with a list of, say, 50 to 100 interests that I have. And once I actually sat down to make the list, the first time I did this, it was like 20 things. I had about 20 answers. Maybe like, I'm looking at my list today, it looks like there's probably about 30. And by the end of it, I was going pretty slowly. Like I was like, okay, there's something else that I haven't mined out of my soul. And it probably could have been 50 if I went really, really specific, but I felt that what I thought was this abundance of interests was actually not that abundant. It's about 20 main interests in my life. And not only do I have about approximately 20 interests, they all tend to conform to a few different categories. For example, artistic expression, or any type of like public performance, such as making videos, public speaking, performing music, stuff like that, or things that I would put under the umbrella of personal development, things like self-improvement, researching, studying, those kinds of things. So even though I have about 20 things, which in and of itself doesn't seem like that many, once I wrote it down, I thought I was interested in way more things, but I'm not. But then to see that actually there's a lot of consistency there in terms of the categories of things that I'm interested in too, it suddenly makes the overwhelm of there are too many things that I love go away. Because even this morning I was just thinking, there's so many things that I want to do. I want to, read a bunch of books. I'm not going to make my 52 books a year mark this year, unless I'm reading like a book every 2 days I think I've read 40 books this year as opposed to my typical 52. So that was one thing in my head. I was like, I wish I had the time to just like read and study a book or do this. So I was even getting into that this morning where it was like a million things that I want to do. So then I was like, let's just narrow it down. So the book Refuse to Choose has a lot of exercises like this, but I encourage you to give this one a try because I found it really useful. Just sit down. If you're the kind of person who feels that you have too many interests, not enough time to pursue them, first of all, like step one is, what are those interests? What are they? Are they as numerous as you think they are? And you might learn something about yourself once you see them all down on paper. Now there's more that we can do with this in future videos, but this is our starting point. So as a point of reference, I am going to tell you what my list is, and I'm just going to scan through this really quickly. We could probably get into any of these topics and deep dive them a little bit. They're kind of all over the place. Like I said, some are more expressive, some are big. So for example, like entrepreneurship is a big one. Some of them are very narrow and specific, like storms. I've been interested in storms before, something that I fear. But I'm just going to kind of read through this. Maybe this will get the ball rolling for you and making your own list. And if you want to, in the comments, share your own list below. That would be really, really cool for me to see if you guys are actually giving this exercise a try. And then maybe we'll do more with it in the coming days. So playing classical piano, especially the progress part of it, like getting my grades, like getting higher grade levels, reading books. I've always had the idea in my head of getting an English degree, probably not the traditional way. Writing, particularly personal essays. I love singing, I love writing lyrics, writing melodies, recording music. It's probably my favorite part of songwriting is actually the recording part of it. Performing, public speaking, connecting with loved ones, personal development. I could probably pick out like 10 more narrow categories from within that, but let's just do the broad umbrella term. I love to research. I love living in different places for short amounts of time. It's kind of like extended vacations. I really like those, like if I stay in a place for a month or two. I love teaching and coaching. Parenting is a focus of interest for me, of course. Veganism. I love exploring cultures through food. So when I'm cooking, I don't just often I do just cook random recipes, but I really like, getting a cookbook about Persian cuisine and then just cooking a bunch of Persian food, for example. I love exploring the world like that. Journaling. I'm interested in cooking, of course, health and nutrition. I've read about 30 books, 40 books on that. Gardening, I love planning and organizing, routines, stuff like that, structure. Leadership, making courses. Manga, whether it's on the drawing side or the reading side. Copic markers, psychedelics, esoteric fields like lucid dreaming, near-death experiences, tarot cards, stuff like that. I like watching TV. I really like getting into TV series. That's something that is fun for me. Making videos, of course. I'd love to learn another language. I've only dabbled in 2 different languages in the past. 3, I guess, if you count like the kind of forced French that you have to take when you're a Canadian. I'm interested in entrepreneurship, death, storms, as I said, beauty, so things like makeup and skincare, things like that. And then the last one that I have here is consciousness exploration, which I guess you could consider a subcategory of personal development. Yeah, so that was my list. I spent about 15 minutes on it, and looking through it, I'm like, okay, this is pretty much me. So I encourage you to do such a list, see if you learn anything from it, and then maybe we'll convene and talk about this more in tomorrow's video. Bye, guys.